Hello and welcome to an episode of Atomic Vinyl Reviews. My name is Jacob, and today you're probably gonna be a little bit concerned since you probably can't see anything on this video right now, which I apologize for, but I am just filming this on my phone while I'm walking around the streets at night because I just saw Godzilla vs. Kong, and I'm now currently walking home, and I figured I kind of want to do a little initial review of the movie, let you know what I feel, just my, most raw first thoughts of just having seen it. I'll try and do something a little bit spoiler-free just at the beginning, just give you my very loose thoughts about the film without really diving into anything too much. Wow, this is probably the single most turn your brain off and just enjoy pretty pictures kind of a movie that I have ever seen. Oh man, I don't know. I have mixed thoughts about this film, to tell you guys the truth. Pretty much what you see in the trailers is what you get with this film, I would say. I definitely had fun with this. The visuals were really cool. I love some of the cinematography, especially to do with the action scenes. Those were really cool, a lot of fun. But the character development, just the plot in general was so rushed and so bare bones. Even, in the standards of a Godzilla movie or something like that, this feels like, to be fair, I haven't actually watched any Michael Bay Transformer movies. I think I've watched a little bit of some, but this kind of feels a lot more akin to like a Michael Bay Transformer movie compared to a Godzilla movie, just in terms of the sheer pacing and just the really more about the action scenes and stuff like that, and less about it being really cohesive. So it felt a little bit choppy and very rushed in parts. But again, like I say, really cool action scenes. The monsters were really cool. Godzilla was awesome. Kong was awesome. Kaiju number 3, which I don't think it's a spoiler at this point, but he was pretty cool as well. You guys know what I'm talking about with that one, and if you don't, well, I'm gonna get into spoilers in a moment. I feel like when I saw Godzilla King of the Monsters, I was in awe the entire time during that movie. That movie felt like a Godzilla movie. That gave me like everything I wanted. I was in tears at some points in that film. That I still love that movie. This one, when I was watching it, I felt like something was missing throughout a lot of parts. It felt, again, very choppy. And so I don't really know where I'm going to rank it. Well, you guys probably know that I'm not a huge fan of Godzilla 2014, but even that film, I respect it for how grounded it happened to be. This one completely forgets being grounded at all. Not only is like the universe in this movie so futuristic and ungrounded, but again, just a lot of stuff which is very nitpicky, just happens all the time, little issues here and there that just don't make any freaking sense. If you like your kaiju films to be more grounded, this is not the movie for you. This is one of the least grounded Godzilla movies I've ever watched. Godzilla Final Wars is like one of my favorite movies, but even that compared to this one, that one feels grounded. I don't know, that's just my takeaway from the film without really getting into any spoilers. It is just super turn off your brain and just enjoy it. And personally, I think this film got a lot cut out in the cutting room floor, basically, when they were editing it down. It feels like a lot of stuff there probably would have been more backstory to, a bit more show rather than tell. And some of the characters they probably would have fleshed out, but it feels like they really tried to chop this thing down to just have as much monster action going on with as little human involvement as possible in a film like this, which maybe they did that intentionally because a lot of people complained about that with the past couple of movies. Which again, I have my thoughts on personally with Godzilla 2014. I think, yeah, that probably was an issue, but I think there were other issues with that film. But King of the Monsters, I think they actually did a pretty good balance. I know a lot of people didn't really like the character work done in King of the Monsters, but I think compared to this film, the character work in that film was amazing. So Godzilla vs. Kong has really freaking bare bones character work. I should also add, I actually didn't see the first probably 5 minutes of the film. I had so much issues trying to actually get to the cinema today. I missed like 2 buses, and then I had a bunch of other issues anyhow, but that's neither here nor there. So let's dive into the spoilers. This film didn't surprise me. Nothing in this film actually happened that actually we weren't expecting, like, or at least I wasn't expecting. The plot was pretty much as bare bones what I was expecting as possible, because you know when you go into some films and you got like a vague kind of idea of what's going to happen, but then they kind of spice it up and you're like, ooh, that's a cool way of doing this. This film was very much what you'd expect with what the community, the fan community, had kind of put together. Now, no, Godzilla was not actually MechaGodzilla. That's the first main spoiler thing, because a lot of people have been saying, oh, Godzilla's attacking people, we don't know why. Well, it must mean that he is actually MechaGodzilla. But for the longest time, I didn't think that was going to be the case. Like, I know why people thought that, because it is kind of creative, aside from the fact that, you know, it was done before, which is the other reason why people might think that. And, you know, it would have explained why he was being all aggressive and stuff like that. But no, MechaGodzilla was in the film. That was all cool, but he was never pretending to be Godzilla. They actually really didn't explain why they actually made MechaGodzilla actually look like Godzilla. There's a lot of things like that they really didn't explain very well, and they actually didn't kind of show, at least assuming they didn't show it in the first 5-10 minutes of the film that I didn't see. But basically, when the early figures of MechaGodzilla and that stuff showed up, I was like, no, there's no way that this thing is going to be Godzilla or pretending to be Godzilla, because the shape doesn't fit at all. This MechaGodzilla had a very weird kind of shape design. He had really big arms. His hands didn't look anything like Godzilla's hands. There were these weird graspy hands. So it made sense that he wouldn't be MechaGodzilla, and I predicted that. Also, we did get the typical thing where it's just like these two kaijus will team up at the end over a bigger enemy, which, I don't know, it's kind of weird. Like, I went into this movie and for the longest time saying that if either Kong or Godzilla die or lose, I'm not going to be happy about it, because I love both of them. And for a long time, we heard that the director had said that there will be a definitive winner out of the two kaiju. And we kind of got that in this film, but kind of not. It really just was that they kind of just battled for a while, and then MechaGodzilla shows up and he was the bigger enemy at the end. But really it was just, I mean, Godzilla did dominate over Kong in pretty much every battle, to be fair. Like, there was one point where, like, oh, round 2 goes to Kong, but that was really vague, because some character just said that after both kaiju just fell over after Kong hits the axe into Godzilla's face, which we saw in all the trailers. So after that scene, they were just like, oh, Kong wins round 2, because before that we had the whole ship fight, which Godzilla clearly won. This second fight, which was nighttime in Hong Kong between the two of them, I love the neon lights, by the way. I thought, you know, the cinematography in these fights, brilliant. The pacing, not so much. I think it was a bit choppy, some of the edits there, but the actual cinematography, the way they filmed everything, I thought was really cool. There was some really creative shots from different perspectives. Some of the jet planes, I could see their perspectives going on in the midst of the battle between Godzilla and Kong with the ships at the beginning. That was really cool. But yeah, that first battle, Godzilla defeated Kong, basically. Kong just barely made it through, and he was just kind of basically passed out on one of the ships, and then they turned off their engines to kind of pretend to all be playing dead, and then Godzilla left them alone. And basically during the second fight in Hong Kong, Godzilla basically just really scratched up Kong pretty fiercely, and he was doing this whole intimidation thing, stepping on Kong. They had this really close moment where they were clearly like trying to communicate with each other, just looking at each other. I like whispered over to my partner's ear in that moment, just being like, "Martha, save Martha," because it kind of felt identical to that moment in Batman vs Superman, where Superman is lying on the ground, how Kong was in that scene, with Godzilla stepping on him, and Batman like using the spear on Superman. Or was it the other way around? I forgot whether it was Superman beating up Batman or Batman beating up Superman in that moment, but it was that "Save Martha" line. And the same thing, it felt like it was happening there, although that's not when they kind of teamed up though. They didn't exactly have that moment, but it really kind of felt like it could have been if there was a Martha for them to save. Also, what I've noticed is a lot of the conflict in these movies is so stupid. Like, you can say, oh, Godzilla and Kong had an ancient rivalry, or Godzilla and the Mutos had an ancient rivalry, or Godzilla and King Ghidorah had an ancient rivalry. But like, you can only push that so far. In this movie, it really was just kind of, the whole reason Godzilla attacks Kong is because Godzilla in this movie series is a dick. He is. Like in 2014, he literally, the Mutos just emerge and they just want to procreate. They just want to do basically just what any other creature reasonably wants to do. Just exist and do their own thing. But Godzilla's awoke and he's just like, nah, fuck these two. And he murders the shit out of them. Now, in this movie, Kong's going on a boat ride, basically. He's just chill on a lovely little boat ride. And Godzilla is just like, nah, fuck you, man. You better submit to me. It's so stupid and arbitrary, and it kind of, I don't know, it goes in the face of that kind of like bringer of balance and kind of the good guy vibe that they were trying to give Godzilla in the other films. I just found that really funny. What I did like with Godzilla in this film is actually seeing him destroy cities. That was something which was missing in a lot of these movies. They always had Godzilla just fighting in wastelands of dust and shit, and you know, they did a lot of nighttime scenes in this film, or just like really sparsely lit scenes as well. But it still was a lot of that kind of smogginess. But at least we did actually get that Hong Kong scene with the neon lights. That was really sweet. And we did get to see Godzilla actually go around smashing buildings and hurting people, and people dying in fireballs created by Godzilla, which was awesome. That's something, yeah, that they really kind of scratched they were like, what's a good phrase for it? They dropped the ball with that one a bit in the other films. I kind of wish they did that more. That would have been one of my minor complaints of King of the Monsters. But it does fit with his like good guy character in these movies, I guess. But it is something so classic about the Godzilla character that I am glad they got to explore it here. That said, when Godzilla shows up in Tokyo, I found that moment so funny when he just like, he strides into the city as you do, and then he just bows in the middle of the city and just blasts atomic breath into the ground, blowing a hole to the freaking center of the planet. Literally, this happens in the movie. I think it feels like he only does this for like 2 minutes, just atomic beaming down. Fucking hell. And he creates a hole to the middle of the planet big enough so that Kong, who's in the middle of the planet at this time, I'm sorry if you guys haven't watched the movie and you don't even know what the fuck is going on, why Kong's there at this moment, all that stuff. It's a little convoluted anyway. I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I just found that really funny. That was so stupid. Kong climbs up the hole as if he wouldn't be taking literal weeks to climb through that thing. No, he just climbs up within that same night. What feels like within 5 minutes, he is up through that hole and battling Godzilla. Fucking hell. Do you guys know how deep it is to the core of the planet? Oh man. But yeah, there are just some arbitrary, really weird things. Like, why did they need Kong to go to the middle of the planet? They just had this bullshit excuse about like genetic memory, and that because Titans came from the center of the earth, for some reason bringing Kong to the center of the earth will mean that he'll just naturally know where to go for them to get to some arbitrary energy source in there, which they never really explained that anyway. It was that weird glowing like Godzilla mural that they had on the floor, and that was somehow made of this weird energy, which they later used to energize MechaGodzilla. I do like the Hollow Earth thing. I feel like it was really, really underexplored though. For example, like, you know, I love like a journey to the center of the earth or whatever it's called, and all that sort of media, or like the Lost World, all the dinosaur worlds that people find, all those sort of movies, and they kind of montaged through it, and it looked like Kong was having a fever dream, just like flying and playing with the weird gravity, and that was pretty sweet. It was really sweet to see him kind of explore, but the people were really, it was just weird. Like, I like sci-fi where it is grounded. Like, again, they did the thing where the people went onto this weird Hollow Earth world and they didn't have any protective masks. They weren't really surveying anything. The people were never like, whoa, it exists, it's real. Like, you couldn't really see the wonder of the people. They were just kind of there for the energy source and to follow Kong, really. And I feel like if there was more exploration of these people and like their pursuit of being scientists, for example, especially like the main dude and lady of the good guys, I guess. Just these little nitpicks, they add up with this film, I feel like. Yeah, that's where Kong finds the axe, and he just kind of, it literally is like a key. You like put it on the ground in some weird pattern, like that weird Godzilla glowy thing. I don't know. Then one of the crew from those people are like working with this evil corporation. Yeah, there's an evil corporation in this movie as well. It's one of those plot points. They built MechaGodzilla. I do think it's cool that they did actually use the whole Ghidorah Kevin head thing in this movie. So the reason they built MechaGodzilla is like the most bare bones reason. It's because like, oh, there should only be one alpha on this planet and it better be humans. So the evil corporation dude decides to build MechaGodzilla. You know, I'm really sick of just the overabundance of like unnecessarily advanced future tech in this movie. Like, I felt like the Argo and the what was the name of that base that monitors Godzilla in King of the Monsters? The was named after a nuclear explosion. I forgot. But you know, that place where they monitored Godzilla and they had the big Muto head mounted in it, the Monarch base. All that stuff, that was really advanced future tech. But it wasn't like stupid advanced like it is in this film, where they have like literal weird little ships that can travel through the center of the earth, unnecessarily complicated transport systems in these like black and neon futuristic corridor shaped things that transport skullcrawler eggs to the facility where they have MechaGodzilla in Hong Kong and all this weird shit. It just, I don't know, it just felt unnecessarily futuristic, down to just the aesthetic, which I don't know. I feel like that's a difficult thing to do right with a lot of films, like just building up the tech in a world in such a short period of time is just a little bit weird to me. But you know, that is what it is. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, so I think in this film they kind of combined a few things of like how MechaGodzilla comes into being, similar to Kiryu's origin, a little bit similar to MechaGodzilla's 2's origin. Unfortunately, there was no space apes like in the original MechaGodzilla, but they did actually use Ghidorah or the remains of Ghidorah, to construct MechaGodzilla, as in they used the skull, or skulls, assuming there were more than one left, but there really wasn't if you watched King of the Monsters, but they kind of implied that there was. They used King Ghidorah, the skull of him, as like a basis for a genetic computer, which is used to pilot their MechaGodzilla, which they didn't elaborate on how the hell they built this thing or anything like that. But they used this computer. It's really similar to how they used the bones of the original Godzilla in the 1954 film, and how those bones ended up then making MechaGodzilla go crazy. Because in this film, it's basically, once they actually give MechaGodzilla this power source from the hollow earth, it actually kind of triggers the skull of King Ghidorah to kind of take over MechaGodzilla, from what I understand. Which was really funny, because it is definitely a reference to that Kiryu kind of origin, where they use the original Godzilla bones, and that makes him go crazy. So that was pretty cool. MechaGodzilla himself, what do I think of him? I don't know yet. I like the little demonstration that they did of him, where they actually were testing him out. They just released a Skullcrawler, and he's like destroyed the Skullcrawler. That was pretty cool. And he was really fierce against the other two kaiju. But I felt like the battle with him was really just sort of really quick and aggressive, and there wasn't as much of a kind of a build-up to it. Like, it's literally Godzilla and Kong fight in Hong Kong, then they activate MechaGodzilla, which immediately goes crazy, and then he's just there because he's like just underground or inside a mountain, the facility where MechaGodzilla is. So he just breaks out and they immediately fight him. That's when Godzilla and Kong unite, when Kong decides to side with Godzilla against MechaGodzilla in that moment. At the end, Godzilla basically just kind of just lets Kong off the hook. He decides not to be a dick at the end for whatever reason and walks off really abruptly as well. And then the movie ends really abruptly. It's kind of weird. Sorry if it's kind of loud right now. I'm near some heavy roadwork, so I'm just going to pause recording for a sec. Alright, it's still freaking loud around me with all the traffic, but hopefully you guys can hear me okay. And I'm also sorry, this little initial review, I get that it's really sporadic, because I'm just jumping from thought to thought. When I do my full review, I will try to condense my thoughts into actual specific topics rather than jumping from one thing to another. But another thing just occurred to me. Ren Serizawa, he's the guy who's controlling MechaGodzilla. We saw him in the trailers. There was all these, you know, people theorizing he's the son of Ishiro Serizawa's character, or Ishiro Serizawa the character, from the previous films, which his presence is sorely missed in this movie. There's nobody with his gravitas in this film, which is kind of a bummer, because it really gives this film a different tone. Actually, tonally, this film is really similar to, again, like a Transformers movie, or even more so like Pacific Rim 2. It's got that sort of, I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say, do I want to say cheapness? I don't know. It's just got like a contrast between the previous film in terms of quality that really kind of resembles Pacific Rim 2. But Ren Serizawa, they give him no backstory, barely any lines. He could have been anybody. He just happens to be named Serizawa, just a Japanese character, the only one in this film, which is really bizarre. All of these movies, the only time they're set in Japan was in the beginning of the 2014 movie, where they had the whole Janjira power plant thing. Godzilla didn't even show up there, not at all. It was just the Mutos there. They destroyed the power plant and laid their weird cocoon thing, and then 5 years later it hatches. After that, no more Japan in any of these movies, which I found really odd. I mean, Hong Kong did look vaguely oriental and look cool as well in this film, so I'm happy they at least chose Hong Kong for this film, but I'm surprised they didn't go for Tokyo, to be fair. That's kind of like a classic Godzilla place to go trash in these movies. I don't know. But yeah, no backstory to Ren Serizawa. Like, I thought they were going to go with like a really cliched backstory, like, oh, daddy didn't love me, he loved Godzilla, so I turn evil. Which is actually really funny, because there's a Kong Netflix children's cartoon animated show, which my review of it, though being a terrible video, is the most viewed video on my channel. I don't know why. But in that show, the evil villain basically had that backstory. Like, they found this weird Kong creature, and his brother liked the Kong creature, and so did his father, who was some science dude. But this kid loved building robot dinosaurs, and for some reason hated Kong. For no reason. He just did. And then he just became evil as he grew up, building evil robot dinosaurs. And I kind of thought that's what they were going to do with Ren Sarazawa's character in this film. Nah, he could have been anybody. He was just the person who happened to be controlling MechaGodzilla. The actual villain was some, like, rich tycoon dude who just wanted humanity to be the alpha on the planet. And again, they didn't really flesh that out too much either. Unless there was so much going on in the opening act of this film in the first 5 minutes, which I didn't see, which I doubt. So I will rewatch this film, do a full review, and elaborate once I have that knowledge. But as it stands, I feel like so much of this film was really rushed. I don't know, there was also the whole children and the conspiracy theory dude element of the plot, which I felt was really overly comical. Like, they could have made it so cool. Like, they're going into all this conspiracy theory stuff, like with Bryan Cranston's character in 2014. Like, say what you will about the rest of the movie, but the opening act in 2014 of Bryan Cranston's character, and like him getting into those conspiracy theory kind of things about them covering stuff up and all that. That was done really cool in that film. In this film, it's really played for laughs. You have Millie Bobby Brown returning as her character. I think she's a fantastic actress, especially for her age, but in this film, felt more generic than the last film. I felt, I don't know. She was a lot more paced out in the previous film. This film, I don't know. And there was also, you know, the New Zealand kid from that Deadpool movie. They had him wearing a Judas Priest t-shirt and listening to Breaking the Law at one point, which I dig because I'm a Judas Priest fan, but his personality was basically be the little bitch boy that just kind of goes along with what Millie Bobby Brown's character is doing. So, I don't know. He didn't need to be there. It was more comic relief as well. The conspiracy theory dude, he was alright, but again, just played for comedy relief, really. They tried and give him a little bit of a emotional bit with his wife dying or something, but they could have tied that to the monsters maybe, or something else, but they really, I don't know. Just these little things that I feel like if they fleshed out more, this film could have been really awesome, or at least a lot more awesome. But as it stands, it's really rounding up to me as a really disposable sort of popcorn movie, which is kind of a shame, at least in my mind. But hey, at least we got to see some real cool action with the monsters. Like I said, Godzilla was fantastic. He looked fierce in this film. We got to actually get a half decent look at him. Sorry, I'm just jaywalking. Okay, there we go. So yeah, we got to see a pretty decent look at him in this movie, looking fierce. He was really brutal in this film, just really scratching Kong up, which is brilliant to see. Again, even though Kong held up a pretty good fight, it was pretty clear that Godzilla was the more powerful titan throughout the entirety of the movie, which, you know, it's a bit different from what the trailers were implying. The trailers are really trying to make Kong out to be like the hero of this movie, and he really was the most sympathetic one. But like, I just seeing him in this movie made me want to cry, because his life just sucks. It's so sad, everything they put him through in this movie. Like, apparently all the people on his island were wiped out in a storm. Again, this was all exposition, so we didn't really see it. And now we just see that he lives in like a weird virtual dome, locked up on the island, where he's not actually able to see the outside world. He just has like a literal digital screen surrounding him. There's no explanation of how they built it, how they got him in it, how he's cooperating, any of that shit. Nothing. He just is. It does remind me of like Monster Island when they showed it in Destroy All Monsters. It's a similar concept, but even more sort of like they actually kind of explained all the inner workings of Monster Island. It was really cool. Here they just kind of show that there's this dome, digital screens, and like just this lady and this like little moot girl that are studying him there. He just hangs around. No explanation of why he grew so fucking big. Again, they could have said it in the first 5 minutes of the film, which I didn't see, but he was just kind of that big and that was it. There was no more info about that, which I did a whole video on Kong's size in this upcoming movie and why I take issue with it if they don't explain further as to why he actually grows. And I know in Kong Skull Island, the movie, they said he's still growing, but I go into depth why that's not enough. Anyhow, I felt sorry for him. All the natives apparently on this island wiped out by a storm, which, geez, that must have been one fucking crazy storm. So there was, you know, the whole society there and everything, but oh well. That girl was the only one left. Somehow she's been communicating with Kong. He's all stressed out the whole time, as he would be. They somehow get him on the boat. They don't show us that either, how they got him on the boat. But we know he's sedated and chained up. Then out of nowhere, Godzilla comes and tries to whoop his ass. But again, the whole reason they have him on the boat is they think he can find that energy source in the hollow earth, which you'd think they would just use sensors or something to find it, rather than a giant fucking gorilla with no real reason for why he would be able to do that. But whatever. I mean, they make up a reason, but it's really wafer thin. Whew, I'm getting puffed out now. It's a long walk. It's a long walk, guys. It was a long wait for this movie, though. And then they just bring him out into the snow. And he's just in the middle of Antarctica, and there's this big hole. And they're just trying to convince him. They get the little girl to tell him his you know, like, go down there for us. And he's all like freaking out. He's like, nah, I don't want to go in the hole. He just looks concerned. He's like, what is this thing around me, the snow? He doesn't look happy. Looks real sad. Then the little girl's just like, your family might be there. And then he just freaks out and he just panics and runs into the hole. So you can just see how sad this fucking version of Kong is. The poor thing. Then he just falls into this portal. He falls through this magic portal that takes him to the middle of the planet. He's just crashing through all these stones. This poor fucking gorilla. I don't know. Then at the end of the movie, he's just back in his, like, in Hollow Earth, just living there. And like there's a research center there with the little girl and the lady, which, again, they were so unfleshed out in this movie. Like, I wish they would have brought back like a lot of the characters from King of the Monsters. I know a lot of people didn't like them, but I thought they were pretty decent. They worked in that film, and I feel like that would have given them another nice solid layer of development, even if they didn't really change his characters, but just kind of familiarity if they brought them back. And you could have easily substituted like the Hollow Earth dude for Dr. Stanton guy from the previous film, King of the Monsters. They brought him back. I know people didn't like him because of his weird sense of humor, but he would have been a better fit than this random other Hollow Earth researcher that they had in this movie, because he had so little presence. Like the only thing I feel like he added to this film was that just little joke about like cowardice or bravery with the sign language thing of the little girl. Like, that made me chuckle, but other than that, I don't know. I hope we do get more films in the Monsterverse, but something makes me feel like this movie, it did feel underwhelming and kind of cheap, because there was something special about King of the Monsters. That one felt like a Godzilla movie, and I felt from that moment, just even before I saw any of these movies, when I knew that Ghidorah was going to be in it, that I knew that when they actually did have Godzilla and Kong fight each other, it would be underwhelming compared to King of the Monsters. Because look at it this way. You start off with Godzilla, 2014. Again, I have mixed feelings about the film, but still, you have a nice start to the series. Then you have the Kong Skull Island movie, which I thought was pretty fun. Stupid movie, has a lot of holes in it, things I would have done differently, but it had some really solid stuff in there too. Then you jump to King of the Monsters, which I thought was freaking great. Again, it's not the most solid movie ever made, but I love the bits out of it. I love the shit out of it. Really, it felt like a Godzilla movie. It felt grand. Ghidorah as the villain was really well realized in that film. He felt like a really grand, imposing presence throughout the course of the movie since he showed up. And I like that. And he felt like the big boss, you know, of the Godzilla universe. But then you have them mash up Godzilla and Kong here for marketability, essentially. Because if you had this film before the Ghidorah one, then I guess I think that would have made more sense. And then to have Ghidorah. But I get why they did it, but I think it was a bad idea. Because Ghidorah is easily the bigger threat than both MechaGodzilla or Kong. So to have Godzilla go up against Ghidorah, so much better, I think. And the rendition of the classic, you know, other Toho characters like Mothra and Rodan were really freaking cool. It just felt like a Godzilla movie. It felt grandiose. There was like this mythology behind it, these more emotional moments. The music was also so much better. I'm sorry. Something I wanted to touch on. The music in Godzilla vs. Kong. I liked the Godzilla theme when it showed up, but even then, it didn't feel as grand as it did in like the classic Godzilla movies or as an actual orchestra. This kind of felt like that generic sort of more electric action movie music, and the rest of the music felt very generic in that vein as well. So I felt like there was something missing there. Something like, if this movie could have an edit, change up the music, flesh it out a bit, put some of those deleted scenes back in there perhaps, especially with some of the characters, which just feel like there is a lot missing there. It could have been like a really freaking solid movie, I think, because there's a lot of cool concepts in this. Like I said, the Hollow Earth thing, real cool. Kong, just in general as a character, really like him. Godzilla, really freaking cool. I mean, obviously, just the whole MechaGodzilla thing, or even just like all this conspiracy theory stuff. Like, dive deeper into that, give the characters some more meat on their personality, you know. Could have been a great thing. That's kind of where I stand on it at the moment. I'm just having mixed feelings, but I need to see it a couple more times, and I know I will. I will see this movie a number of more times. I saw Godzilla 2014 3 times. I saw Shin Godzilla 6 times. I saw King of the Monsters 5 times. We'll see how many times I see this one, but you know I'm gonna see it a lot. So I think that's everything, just off the top of my head. Again, I know this review has been extremely convoluted. I hope you can actually hear what I'm saying throughout it really clearly, because I've been walking past really loud traffic half this time, and I'm really sorry that you can't see anything from most of this review besides like lens flares and just some sharp contours of light across my face through a few moments, because it is so dark. I think I feel the same way about this movie as like Pacific Rim 2. I probably like this one a bit more than Pacific Rim 2, but it feels disposable compared to the last two movies. Like even 2014, which is my least favorite Godzilla movie, the parts of it that were good, I think kind of have... I can't talk, I'm sorry. I stutter a lot when I'm trying to think off the top of my head, guys. I think you know this by now if you've seen my videos at all. It's happening a lot tonight. But even that movie, I have respect for it. This one, maybe I'm going in with too high expectations or something like that. No, it was definitely fun to watch. But there's just so many nitpicky things. And I feel like they just kind of outweigh a lot of those positives. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really curious. Was it worth the hype, the wait, and all that? I don't know. I do really want a Monster Arts version of this MechaGodzilla, though. I think that would be sweet. I still don't know what I think of this MechaGodzilla. The pacing was so fast. It felt like he was just there and gone. Just at the end, real quick. and I didn't really get a good sense of him. He didn't really have the impact of like Kiryu or any of the other sort of previous MechaGodzillas, or like the first MechaGodzilla. The thing is, like the original MechaGodzilla, he just had such a great presence. He had an amazing theme as well. The music in that movie, he stole the show. I love that MechaGodzilla, my favorite. But then the 90s MechaGodzilla, I'm not a big fan of that design, but they made him feel grander in that film, and the music, the theme they gave for the 90s MechaGodzilla, incredible. One of Kubei's best themes. And then Kiryu, I don't remember if he had a decent theme or not, but that thing was so well designed, just a beautiful looking thing. Gave him a really solid backstory, made him feel like a real character. The whole thing about him being on the bones of the original Godzilla, all this kind of mystic stuff going on with him. So cool. This one, again, feels like a very Transformer-ish kind of just like generic robot monster that just like goes crazy. I did like it when he first went crazy and he kind of started turning in the background. That was pretty sweet. It looked cool, he was very well animated, all that stuff. The animation in this film, pretty sweet. A lot of the stuff they did in this film was just so over the top. Oh, actually, this is a good place to close out the video because you can see me now. So the animation was really good throughout the whole film. Action scenes really top notch. You know, all in all, I felt like it was a very choppy in terms of the character stuff. All that character development was just minimal as fucking hell. Completely minimal. The plot was really bare bones. Nothing surprised me. Like I said earlier, there was nothing of like when you go into a film and like, even though you kind of know what's going to happen, like the good guys are going to win, it's always like surprising to see, oh, this is how they do it. The only thing that like I didn't know going in was that Kong was gonna go try to find this power source, and that power source is what gonna power MechaGodzilla. But pretty much everything else was as I expected, except for maybe I really didn't expect Godzilla to use his atomic breath to carve a hole to the center of the earth, and that Kong was gonna climb up instantly into Hong Kong. That was stupid. I don't know. I still had a blast though. It was great action and stuff like that was really sweet, and I came out with mixed feelings, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. I hope you like this video. Be sure, as I've said like 5 times now, let me know what you think in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in my actual proper full review when I'm able to see it a few more times and have comprehensive thoughts rather than this weird ramble which I did tonight. Before I go, I just wanted to show off this shirt in case you didn't see my Instagram post earlier today. I had this shirt waiting, this King Kong vs. Godzilla shirt, for a good long time. I've been tempted to wear it a lot of times in the past year, but I'm like, no, Godzilla vs. Kong is coming out soon, and I want to have it ready. So it's been just sitting there waiting for me to put it on again, but I finally had it out for opening night of the movie, so yeah, as well as this little doozy right here. But yeah, that is it for this video, guys. Peace out. Bye.